It was the click of the hammer that made my blood run cold. 5 seconds. That's all it took to turn what should have been a simple neighborhood dispute into something straight out of a nightmare. One moment, my wife Emily was standing at the edge of our driveway, trying to calmly explain why she parked the way she did. The next, Karen from the HOA, our neighborhood's walking breathing problem, was pointing a loaded handgun directly at her chest. I wasn't supposed to be home. I'd cut my deployment short, a rare thing in my line of work. As a Delta Force operator, surprises are part of the job, but nothing could have prepared me for what I walked into that afternoon. We lived in one of those neighborhoods that looked peaceful at first glance. Big trees, neat lawns, kids on scooters, the occasional dog walker. It was a picture of suburban bliss. But if you looked closer, you'd see the cracks, hidden beneath the freshly trimmed hedges and white picket fences. The air was thick with quiet tension, the kind that simmers and then explodes. And at the center of it all was Karen. Every neighborhood has one, right? That one person who somehow takes it upon themselves to be the self-appointed sheriff of the block. But Karen wasn't just any HOA monitor. She was a tyrant in high heels. She hadn't been elected to the HOA board. She just took it upon herself to assume the role, dictating everything from the length of your grass to the appropriate level of Christmas lights you could hang. And woe betide anyone who dared question her authority. She'd pounce faster than a pit bull. For the most part, people just avoided her, letting her think she had control, trying to get through their days without crossing her path. But everything changed the day she aimed a gun at my wife. Let me rewind. My name's Jake. I've spent most of my life in the military, a decade in Delta Force. That means I'm no stranger to chaos, hostage rescues, black ops, combat zones where danger is constant. You name it, I've been in it. But nothing, absolutely nothing could have prepared me for this. My wife, Emily, is the calm to my storm. She's smart, kind, strong-willed, everything I'm not when I'm in the field. And I loved her more than anything. Even when I was away on a classified assignment, I always looked forward to those brief satellite calls, our encrypted messages. They were the only threads keeping me tethered to the world outside of the chaos. I'd been gone for 6 months. 6 long months. So when I finally got the green light to come home early, I kept it a secret. I wanted to surprise Emily, show up out of nowhere and sweep her off her feet. But fate had other plans. I pulled up, around the corner, parked the car, and took a deep breath. The air was warm, summer buzzing with life. As I walked toward the house, I heard raised voices. Karen. I paused for a moment, trying to make sense of the situation. Emily was standing. There, her posture calm as usual, but there was a tension in her stance I hadn't seen before. Karen was in front of her, screaming, her face contorted in that familiar, bitter scowl. I could hear every word of the argument. "You can't park here. This is against HOA rules," Karen screeched. "I'm parked in front of my own house, Karen," Emily replied, her voice steady, though her eyes flickered with concern. "There's no rule against parking here." "It's my rules, and you'll learn to follow them," Karen spat back, her hand trembling as it hovered near her bag. I didn't even think. My instincts kicked in the moment Karen pulled out a gun. A Glock, a real one, not the tiny pistols you see in movies. My heart skipped a beat. Time slowed. I watched as Emily took a step back, hands raised, her eyes wide but her voice calm. "Karen, put the gun down. This isn't worth it." I couldn't wait. Not for 1 second longer. Training. Reflexes. The 5 seconds it took me to close the distance felt like a lifetime. I didn't call for backup. I didn't draw my own weapon. I didn't need to. The only thing I needed to do was neutralize the threat. "Drop the weapon," I shouted, my voice ringing out with authority, the command slicing through the tension. Karen spun around, startled. Her eyes locked on me just as I reached her, my boots pounding the concrete with a rhythmic precision. Only years of training could teach. Her hesitation was her downfall. I grabbed her wrist, twisted it just enough for her to cry out, and with a snap, the gun clattered to the ground. She screamed, the kind of scream that sent chills down your spine. "He's assaulting me! He's attacking me!" But her words were lost in the chaos. I pinned her to the ground, my knee pressing into her back as I disarmed her completely. The gun was kicked away, far enough that it couldn't be reached. "Jake, please, don't hurt her." Emily's voice broke through the fog of adrenaline. I didn't even flinch. My focus was on Karen, the crazy woman who'd just threatened the woman I loved. Neighbors were already stepping out of their homes, phones raised, recording, some already dialing 911. The sirens weren't far behind. By the time the local sheriff's department arrived, the situation had already settled into an uneasy quiet. Guns drawn, officers swarmed, but the moment they saw my ID, saw the gun on the ground, the dozen witnesses who had seen everything, they knew how this was going to end. Karen, still shrieking about conspiracies and how she was the real victim, was handcuffed and hauled off to the cruiser. The lead deputy looked at me, a wry smile tugging at his lips. "You Delta?" he asked. I nodded, not even breaking a sweat. "Always am," I replied. Emily, her hands still shaking, moved toward me, her eyes finally meeting mine. "I thought I was going to die," she whispered, her voice thick with the weight of what had just happened. "I know," I said softly, wrapping an arm around her, "but you're safe now, and I'll always keep you safe." Karen was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The HOA officially banned her from attending any future meetings, and the neighborhood rallied around Emily. Baked goods appeared on our doorstep. People who had stayed silent for years now spoke up. The word had spread. Karen wasn't the only problem in the neighborhood. The aftermath was long and drawn out. Court dates, statements, and lawyers. But Emily stayed strong, just as she always had. She was the reason I came home, and now she was the reason I would never leave her side. As for Karen, after months of legal battles, she took a plea deal, probation, a mandatory psychological evaluation, and within 2 months, her house went up for sale. Nobody wanted it. Maybe the reputation scared people off. Or maybe the fact that the guy next door was a Delta Force operator didn't sit well with potential buyers. We still lived there. Every day I walk past that curb where everything almost went wrong, where I came face to face with a nightmare. But now there's peace, a calm that didn't exist before. And every time I think about those 5 seconds, the 5 seconds that saved her life, I remember why I do what I do. 5 seconds that made sure Karen would never terrorize anyone again. 5 seconds that proved, in a world full of chaos, sometimes it's the small moments that change everything.